Welcome to Bungalows for Bachelors. We are going to be taking care of the ceiling and floor plan layout now. So, in order to do that, we are going to basically be starting on the top and saying, where are the ceiling joists going to go? What are the spans? Do we need a certain size? What sizes do we need? And then we are going to do the same for floor joists. And for floor joists, you can use span tables and things like that. There's nothing wrong with that. But in our case, we're going to not do that. We are going to do just a little bit different and use Forte Web to calculate, just so you can see how that goes. And then we're probably going to add a few beams in as needed. So let's get into it. The first thing we got to do is determine our direction, size, and spacing of the ceiling and floor joists. So starting on the top, I'm going to run with the premise that I want to use 2x6 ceiling joists, 24 inches on center, everywhere I can. And the span I can get by doing that is about 14 feet. So I know I'm going to be able to do that in some places. So all ceiling joists are 2x6 ceiling of the pine, 200, okay, except which one different. Great. Okay, so that's the note telling me my ceiling joist size. So if I need to do something differently on the plan, then I will notate it. Otherwise, I will assume that. So what I'm going to basically do is take a dimension and check my spans and see if I have any spans over 14 feet. It's 10 feet, so I'm good here. So the reason I started here is because that's where the ceiling joist starts, because it hangs on my rafter and it runs over the wall. And then it'll run over to here, and that's a short span, so that's fine. So these are all short spans, flat ceilings, no big deal. Let's see. The only other potentially long span might be from this guy to this guy, and that's 10 foot. So yeah, I'm nowhere near the 14-foot mark. So I know I'm good upstairs to use 2x6s as ceiling joist, 24 inches on center. Now downstairs, taking a look at the front here, well, the sloped ceiling is already, the ceiling is the rafters, so we don't need to draw or think about ceiling joists in that area, but we can think about them in this area. And effectively, what I'm going to know is that I actually need another beam right here. I'm just going to define that edge, just like that. And then the ceiling joists, I can fill those in. That's no span problems there. 2x6s are great. Or along this side, I could probably even use 2x4s as fur out material. So nothing crazy structural going on there, but I will need that beam. Now over here, the entire area below the second floor is going to be floor joist or rim joist. The rim joist will go around the outside, or it will also go around any borders of the floor platform. So that's all the material that's going to be used in here. So I'll deal with that in a second. But back here, I've got a flat ceiling on the patio and I've got a flat ceiling in my guest bedroom. So I'm going to take the dimension and check. This is definitely not 14 feet. It's 7 foot something. So I happen to know that I'm just going to run my ceiling joists. Most likely, I'll just take this color. I'm just going to run them front to back like this. Ceiling joist, ceiling joist. Okay. That takes care of that. There's nothing crazy going on here. Those are short spans. They're just going to line up with my rafters. It'll be super easy. Nothing crazy. So that takes care of that. So all of the technical front porch, 9-foot ceiling, same thing. I'm just going to run them out. Well, let's see, in this case, yeah, it don't really matter. Because oh, hold on. Oh, that's right. I was thinking of the other house we designed. Okay, so I could tell you we're going to need beams across here, across here. These technically like needed to be here to hold up the roof too, but they just weren't drawn for some reason. Okay, so I got those. I'm going to need one here, and I don't need one here because all of my weight of the ceiling is going towards the back, and all the weight of the roof is going towards the back. So I will just end up probably like doubling a ceiling joist or something right there, but it's not a big deal. There's no weight on that spot. So, but I might make a note. In fact, I know I'm going to make a note. Where's double ceiling joist and rafter at edge? So I'm going to double the rafter at the edge because the rafter is going to be holding an overhang. And I'm going to double the ceiling joist at the edge because I know the ceiling joist is going to be it's the edge of this thing. So you don't want like, you hit it with a ladder or you hit it with something. You don't want it to move nice and sturdy. So that takes care of that. No beam though. So that takes care of that. I'm all good. The ceiling. I don't need any more beams in here for the ceiling. So that's good. But I do need floor joists. All right, so here's how we're going to do this. Our typical floor joist plan is, I think, going to be left to right because that's going to give us the shorter dimensions. I mean, wall to wall. If I were to go up and down, I would start to need a bunch of beams in here. So I'm going to go left to right instead. And I want to avoid complicating things with beam loads. So I happen to know that if I take a beam, it looks like this, some architect was smart here. If I put a beam right there, then I got to span from this wall to the beam, this wall to this wall. I'm good. I don't need to span from here to this beam or anything. So everything's good left to right. Again, this wall is going to span across to this wall, so that's all the same, and this wall to this wall. All right. So what I want to do here is I'm going to pick the maximum span, and I'm going to design with that. If I was being super nitpicky, I could do different spans and different lengths and different spacings and whatever, but I don't really care. I'd rather be consistent. So I'm going to take the long one, and the long span is about 13.1. So let's say 13 and a half. We'll design with 13 and a half. Be a little conservative. And that span's the same there, but let's check this bedroom just in case. Yeah. So 13 and a half. We'll take care of it. All right. So we're going to design for TJIs or wooden eye joists here. We're going to go into Forte. This is where designing with categories is a good idea. So I'm going to say first floor ceiling. Define where the beam is going to go. So the second floor and the first floor ceiling are the same. So first floor ceiling, I need a floor beam. No, that's not needed. Oops, I'll do that later. I need an eye joist. So floor joist, there's only one, so I'm just going to leave it named that way. Okay, so I could do things here, but I'm not going to change much of this because these are good settings. So TJI web stiffeners, meaning we're going to stiffen the web. Intermediate supports, in this case there won't be any, so it doesn't matter. And end supports, yes, we're going to put a block or something in so we stiffen the edge of the TJI. We don't have any cantilevers going on. We do want to allow the repetitive member increase because that allows us to get a more accurate design. And then we don't want to worry about uplift here. Spans and supports. Okay, so I said 13 and a half feet span. I'm going to sit on one 2x4 wall, another 2x4 wall. I might have a 2x6 wall, but that's only even better. So I'll leave it alone. 3.5, 3.5. Bottom stud wall. It's been for a great accessory. This is where you'd select the rim board size you're going to use. If you, there was a shortage where I was doing stuff before, so I was specifying 1 1/8 rim board. And if you use like a subfloor, 1 1/8 subfloor, you can rip it down and use it as the rim board because there was a shortage on the actual rim board material. So 1 1/8 is sufficient for residential use unless you're doing crazy stuff. And top edge bracing is going to be full length because the top edge, remember, is going to get subfloor on it, which is going to be glued and nailed or screwed. So that top edge is not moving anywhere. And the bottom edge is going to get nailed to sheetrock and walls. So we'll basically say full length. Let's see. Yeah, full length is close enough to, well, let's just be technical here. 7 inches is the technical nailing for sheetrock, so we'll go with that. All right. So what is the load on the worst case scenario floor joist here? Let's see. Well, the spacing is going to be selected in a second. So what we know is that we're just going to use 20 and 40. Typical floor. And that comes from the code. Uniform PSF, good to go, no other loads. That's just a typical floor. No holes, no location analysis, floor performance. So this is where you can use the range of what TJI specifies as stiff or not stiff. We'll just leave it in the middle. And this is where we're going to specify some of the material that we're going to use as decking. If we're using 1 1/8 subfloor, specify it. 23, 30 seconds is like 3/4. So we're just going to go with, regular. And these are brands and they define all the stiffnesses of these products. So we want to know which one we kind of want to use. So we'll just go with that. And then we're going to glue and nail the sheathing down to the floor. Now this matters a lot because the floor system stiffness is highly dependent on the sheathing you're using. Your joists matter a lot, but your sheathing also matters and the way it's connected matters. So that's why we pay attention. All right, bridging, blocking between floor joists, 8 feet on center max. Yes, correct, we're doing that. Perpendicular partitions, this would be if like you're gonna run over more than one wall in your floor joist run, and we're probably not, we're considering open span here, so we're not. And we're not gonna worry about port flooring overlay. Product selection. Okay, so TJI. These are the sizes in terms of the intensity of the top and bottom flanges of the floor joist. So the TJI 110 is the smallest. We want to start with him. 11 7/8 is a standard, and we'll go 16 on center spacing and 1 ply at each spot. And it looks like we're good to go here. So we pass. The moment breaking is 59%. That's good. Our deflection is it's pretty small. We're good there. And the TGI Pro rating is stiffer than in the mid-range. So this is slightly stiffer than like the center range. So that's good. And if we wanted to, we could probably say, well, let's try 24-inch center spacing. If they weren't doing tile or anything, well, it don't matter. Well, actually, it still works technically. It doesn't break. And then it violates the TGI rating, but that's only telling me that it's like slightly below average for bendiness, which is subjective. So this is it still kind of works, but you wouldn't want to do this. It's a little bit too close. And also, if there's any tile or brittle material on the floor, you don't want to do that. You want 16-inch on center joists. So solutions are good. We like this one. So 11 7/8 TJIs, 16 inches on center. So this is where we pretty much find out if we have to make the floor thicker. Sometimes we'll have to use a 14-inch thick floor, sometimes a 16-inch thick floor. It just kind of depends on what we're trying to do. But we want 11 7/8. So I'm just going to make that a note. All floor joists are 11 7/8 inch TJI at 16" on center. Oh, there it is. 11 7/8 TJIC. Okay, great. And there is nothing different. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, and then just for purposes of seeing things, our floor joists are going to run. Okay, so let's take a look at something else here. So we got beams. We got to like box out our floor, right? So the outside, oops, the outside's taken care of because it's just rim board all the way around, and I've got support here all the way across, and then there's something going on here. Oh, that's where I put this beam. So this beam's defining the border of the floor because of this wall. So that one's already been put in. So I need to find out where this one goes, right? So this stairway matches this stairway. So what I happen to know is I need a beam right here, right? Well, there's nothing holding this end of the beam. So what I'm going to do is instead of going all the way across and making an unnecessarily long, expensive beam, I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to just use a hanger. That's my hanger. All right, so I'm going to use a hanger right there and a small beam right there. And then this is just rim board because it's on top of the wall. So that defines the floor. So my floor joists are going to just run across this whole thing. Something like that, right? So that's how you visualize your floor system. Okay. That's what's going on there. And then it's all beamed out and everything. So what we're going to do next is we have to think about what the next step is. And if we refer to our list, then we've got our beams placed where necessary. We got our hangers necessary. Right there, we got one hanger we added. Now we want to get our headers in here. So just go through and highlight all the headers that are in the doors and windows. Let's just take a highlighter, run it across here. I won't bore you by doing that in front of you, but you've seen me do it before. So just highlight those doorways, windows, openings, things like that. We're going to also want to draw in the floor blocking lines. What is the floor blocking line? Well, I will show you. We're going to switch over here to like a dashed line, make it less thick, and we'll make it the color dark blue. All right, so a floor blocking line is a line of blocking I'm going to put in the floor joists when the floor joist span exceeds 8 feet. So I know that I at least need to, I'm going to block. So the blocking is there to keep the boards from like turning over, right? So the end of the joist is going to be nailed to this rim board on the edge, so it's not going to rotate. It's also going to be blocked at a support right here. So it's going to have a blocking line all along this wall, and it'll stop there. And we'll look at this in a second. And then this is going to be rim joist on this side, and there's going to be a blocking line on this wall. Well, there's rim board here, and they will be blocking from here to here. So let me just draw it in. So the basic point of doing this is to visualize like where this extra blocking, because the idea would be like, oh, you just buy another TJI or another floor joist to use as blocking because it's the same depth, right? So there's blocking in there. There's blocking in there. All right, and then that's technically rim board right there because the rim board boxes out this floor well. And the reason I'm stopping the blocking here is because these beams that are in the floor, these are going to be 11 7/8 LVLs so that they match the floor thickness exactly. That's what those are going to be. So because they're full height, they already are the blocking. This floor joist will hang on it with a hanger. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to check out my spans and say, well, is this more than 8 feet? And I happen to know the answer is yes. It's about 9 feet, 10 feet, something like that. So I'm going to just run through the middle of this whole line and just block all the way down. And then I'm going to look at this distance over here and say, well, is this blocking to this 8 feet? It's 8'5". Okay, so it's a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blocking line, move it over. So now I don't have more than 8 foot span unblocked from here to here and here to here along this whole length, and I'm good to go. And if you want to be fancy, you can remind yourself what that dimension should be by pulling some kind of dimension and leaving it on your plan so that you can see later to put the blocking line roughly 6.5 feet in or something like that. All right. So now we'll do another blocking line on this side. I know this is 9'6" because of this dimension right here. So I'm just going to go in the middle and boom, there's a blocking line. So now I've got my whole floor system blocked. It's all nice and rigid and I need those there. So when I'm doing my material takeoff later and I'm counting all the length of TGI I need, I know I need also this length and this length and these little lengths here. So that can add up, right? That's like 30 feet or something. So that is why we account for that. So after we get the floor blocking line, we want to draw out our attic storage area if we have one, just to remind ourselves there's more weight or whatever. So our attic access door is right here. So we got an attic access door and a little bit of ceiling height above here. So we're probably going to want to move towards the center of the house here. So we're just going to take this and make some kind of, oops, some kind of box like this and say maybe that's our attic storage area. So we just want to keep in mind and know where it's going to be. You know, maybe we want to use the whole length of this as attic storage. So there you go. Marked out our attic storage, and that's done with the ceiling layout.